Hello, this is Brenda Green, and I'd like to welcome you to Living in the Go. Today, I want to talk to you about a topic called Myths About the Rich. When I was a little girl, I watched a lot of TV. Movies were my big escape, and it always fascinated me looking at the glamorous lives portrayed on the big screen. I think we all think about that big lifestyle. We dream about it and think it's maybe unattainable. We all want to be rich, but we think it's not within our reach. So I want to bust some myths today about the rich. Hopefully, this will help you in your journey to becoming financially stable and having a great lifestyle. While doing the research for this video, I read a couple of books. The first being The Millionaire Next Door. You may have heard of that book by Thomas Stanley and William Danko. The second book was The New Elite by Jim Taylor, and Doug Harrison and Stephen Krauss gave a lot of statistical information about the wealthy. And the last book was The Next Millionaire Next Door by Sarah Stanley, fellow, and Thomas Stanley. Her father, Thomas Stanley, he died before the book was finished, so she completed it for him. So let's get started. The topics that I want to cover today are who and what constitutes a millionaire. How are you put into that category? The next is how to become a millionaire. What steps do you need to take to get there? Third, what are the true facts about how they live? What is their lifestyle really like? And last but not least, how do we bust the myths in our heads, our thinking about millionaires, the way they think, the way they act? What is it really all about? I want to be able to do that with you today. Now, who is a millionaire? Well, from the years 1983 to 2004, the U.S. population grew 33%. That's pretty significant. U.S. millionaires, however, grew 168% in this country. Those with 5 million plus grew 353%. Those with 10 million plus grew 400%. The definition of wealth is 5 million liquid or 500,000 in annual income. In 2017, there were 12 million millionaire households in the U.S. The typical millionaire is a white male, 61 years of age. 20% of them are retired. 66% are self-employed, and that should tell you something right there in terms of how to build wealth, is to have your own. Their net worth is around 3.7 million. 97% of them are homeowners. 80% of them have some college. 83% are married. 95% will say that they are pretty happy with their lives. 81% of millionaires feel like they are in the middle class. 53% entertain at home, so they're not out spending a lot of money. And they keep their wealth under the radar. It's called stealth wealth. Their leisure time is pretty routine. Now, 80% of them go out to eat. 60% of them actually exercise. 48% go to the movies. 30% go to live sports events like football games, basketball games. 35% of them volunteer in their communities. But when you look at the basic statistics, those 12 million millionaire households, they control 59% of the wealth in this country. 107 million remaining households control 41% of the wealth. So look at that gap. The U.S. has the greatest wealth disparity in the industrialized world. So how did they become millionaires? Well, first, they live below their means. So if they're making 500,000 or if they're making 50,000, they're spending 30. Because the reality is, if you spend more than you bring in, you're never going to become rich. So they live below their means. They do understand that income is not wealth, because a lot of these people were not making a ton of money, but they were smart with how they used their money, and that generated the wealth for them. They are big planners. They budget and they control their expenses. They will sit down with their significant other and look at the whole year and map it out and determine what they need to do and where they need to cut costs. They are not house poor. That's one other statistic, meaning that if they go to buy a house and the realtor tells them they can afford $500,000 for a house, they will spend closer to $350 because, again, they're living below their means. They invest in retirement vehicles, meaning at your job, your 401k, your 403b. You should be investing in that. And they are hands-on with their money. Some of them do have people, financial advisors to advise, but the reality is they know where every penny is being spent. They're taking the time to look over their money and make good decisions. The other thing is their adult children are self-sufficient, meaning that if you're constantly giving to your adult children because they can't make it on their own, then you're not going to become rich because you're constantly paying out. And they usually marry like-minded people. What do I mean by that? So if you're a saver and you marry a spender, you're going to have issues. So you need to determine when you're choosing a spouse to someone who is, again, like you in terms of their thinking, and they have the same kind of goals and same kind of drive. Now, some true facts about their lifestyles. People assume that people who are millionaires are living the big life. But again, that's what you see on TV because that sells. Glamorous lifestyles, spending tons and tons of money with the big cars, the big mansions. That's what sells on movies, TV, but that's not real life. They drive regular cars like Hondas, Toyotas, or Ford. They buy used cars, typically 3 years old. They shop at the same kind of stores that we do. So you could be in your Costco and your Walmart, and you could be standing next to a person who is a millionaire because they understand the value of money. They're not going to be spending in places they don't have to just because they have the money to do that. They shop at Target. 80% of people who are millionaires shop at Target. 80% of millionaires shop at Best Buy. 76% shop at Macy's. 76% shop at Nordstrom's, 58% go to Costco's, 49% at Walmart, 25% at Bergdorf's, and Bergdorf's is a more upscale store, but again, only 25% of the millionaires say they actually shop there. So that's something to think about. So if you're wanting to emulate the millionaire lifestyle, don't run out and buy that luxury car. Buy a 3-year-old car that's in good shape and save yourself something. So how do we bust the myths? Well, don't believe the hype about rich people. Focus on what you're doing. You see on TV, movies, and whatever, this lifestyle, this glamorous where they're spending millions of dollars for things. That's not a reality. Very few people live that kind of lifestyle. So let's focus on what you're doing and look at trying to become a millionaire. Don't get into that game of comparing. Buying an expensive car to impress someone else does not help you. And is that person really worth you spending a lot of money just to look good for them? The person that you're competing with may have a ton of debt, but outwardly they look good. They may have the expensive car, but they got a car note of $800. They're living in a rat trap. You don't know. The media, movies, magazines, they're all selling an illusion. They want you to spend your money, and in order to look and have the lifestyle, they think you should be looking a certain way, having a certain thing. I mean, shoot me if I buy a $3,000 handbag. I'm sorry, that's just ridiculous to me. And even the people who are millionaires don't spend their money that way. The people who are buying that typically are folks who are not millionaires, and they're putting things on credit so that they can look expensive and look good, but it's not a reality. Don't let someone tell you that you must look the part to maintain an image, because again, it's not true. So in summary, everyday millionaires live below their means. They have a plan for the year and they execute to it. They shop the way we do and they look for bargains and discounts. They clip coupons. They have stealth wealth. You can't always tell if they have money. I've been around a lot of people who looked extremely wealthy and they weren't. For example, lawyers and doctors are a great example of looking the part because of the type of work they do. There's an expectation that a lawyer will have these expensive suits or whatever and live in a certain type of neighborhood, but they may not be wealthy. They may not be millionaires, but they are trying to look the part. They want to build that confidence with their clients. 90% of millionaires create their own wealth in their own lifetime. So it wasn't handed down to them. It wasn't given to them on a silver platter. They made their own money. When I talked about the fact that so many millionaires are self-made, that they are self-employed, that number was 66% of them. That's how they made their money. So think about that. Only 10% of them have actually inherited their wealth. So there's a huge difference there, and something you need to look at. So as always, there are Brenda's beliefs, and I want to share those with you. First being, the media will sell us an image of rich people that is not true. You know why? Because the truth doesn't sell. If you talk about the millionaire next door who has $2 million in the bank, but he works at an auto parts place, that's his business. He comes home grimy from the day's work or whatever, you would look at him and not think he was a millionaire. He's living next door to you. Maybe he's got an old car out in the driveway and you think, he's not rich. Well, guess what? He probably got $5-6 million in the bank. You wouldn't know it because that doesn't sell. That's not sexy. Don't judge a book by its cover. Again, I've met all kind of people, and that outward appearance doesn't always reflect what someone's bank book looks like. Every expensive item that you buy is robbing your financial future. We all like nice things, but again, I go back to that $3,000 handbag. Ridiculous. Don't do it. Get a handbag that looks expensive that costs you maybe $50. And you can get one that's in leather and it'll look great. It could be something that you found in a little shop. It could be a consignment shop, whatever. But don't rob your future. Who do you want to keep up with? You want to connect with like-minded people. You want people in your life who share your values about money. You want people who are saving and not spending everything that they have. You want people that you can hang out with who are not spending everything to go on these elaborate trips and vacations that they can't afford. So if your friends and family aren't there yet, you can be a leader for them and show them how it's done. Be knowledgeable about your own money goals. And again, be on the same page with your significant other. If you're setting up your goals, and like I said, it's great to plan and map out a strategy for the year, how you're going to spend, what are your expenses, any unforeseen things, map it all out. Talk to each other. Know what we want to do. Know what those goals are, and then you'll be successful. In the Bible, the book of Proverbs, chapter 13, verse 7 states, "One man pretends to be rich, yet has nothing. Another pretends to be poor, yet has great wealth." That's that stealth wealth we're talking about. So that's what you want to do as well. Impress yourself, no one else. Doesn't matter what people think about you. They're not in your household. They're not spending your money. So the only person you need to impress is you. As always, I'd like to thank you for your time and your attention. Like I said, we have a movement here. We want to be financially savvy. The new year is coming, fast approaching. And I talk to people all the time in terms of what their goals are, what they hope to have, what their dreams are. So think about that. Make those steps to make those things possible for you. I want you to achieve every success that there is, because that's important in terms of how you live your life. I want you healthy, happy. Money doesn't buy happiness, but it can make things so much easier for you. So share this information with everybody that you know and subscribe. Please do that. So thank you so much and have a fabulous day.